Happy holidays.
Hey, hello.
Hey,
what a smooth start.
Leave all of this in.
It's the holiday season. It's almost the end of the year. I suppose at this point most people are, on some kind of break. Ideally, hopefully, some kind of holiday respite.
Hopefully you get a day off. And if you don't, then, boss. No, bleep that out, please. I don't know why I said that.
It's
because Dwight is not here again, and so the lunatics are running the
father figure to keep us in line.
When he's not here to do the countdown, everything just really falls apart.
Just a chaos immediately unfurls.
Yeah,
starts spilling over. I guess the whatever Christmas is like on the weekend. Does that ever happen? I guess it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, right?
What an annoying thing.
Yeah,
it's optimal when it's right in the middle of the week, because then if you have work or whatever, they just cancel the rest of the week.
I don't get any days off for
really
the holiday. Well, no, I don't. I'm not working on any of them, so I don't get the.
That fucking sucks, dude. That really sucks.
That's so slimy that they won't give you a day off for it.
Well, I'm not working anyway, so.
But you should get extra days off. It's just my opinion. You deserve it.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I mean, I am taking some time off the next week to go to New York and see fish and get COVID probably. And
great.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see how that turns out, I guess.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody.
I like how you're just so resigned to getting sick, but you can't not go see.
I mean,
fish.
yeah, it's totally in my control, and I'm just like, I'm not going.
Oh well,
it is what it is.
We'll see.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, then the new year. Hey, that's exciting. A new year, a new
me
variant. Same old me. And we're also coming up on the anniversary. Great American tradition. The storming of the U.S. Capitol building.
That's right.
Which, I mean, on its own, kind of cool.
A tradition celebrated in many ways. And one of the ways that it's been celebrated, and I guess this isn't particularly new because this came out now last month, but we all watched Tucker Carlson's 3-part documentary series, and that's in big, scare quotes, documentary there, called Patriot Purge, which was released on, I think on November 1st, on Fox Nation, which is the Fox channel streaming app, which we all have now, thankfully.
Which I have a fucking timer set, so I cancel it before the 30-day trial.
Did you apply for the veterans discount?
No, it's funny though, because they have. I'm trying to remember what that was. They have like the monthly subscription that like has a name, but like the annual subscription that costs you like over $100 or something is like the Patriot tier.
Of course.
Subscription. Right.
Yeah.
I guess to start off, just talking about that. So I initially wanted to watch this for my own like research stuff and based in school, and I'm working on a project on it. And so I was like, you know what? Let me get the Fox app and look through it. And just like immediate impressions, it's really the worst streaming app I've ever seen.
Oh my god, yeah,
it's terrible. Well, it's funny because like when we were trying to, I am not working on any sort of academic project. I just wanted to watch it because I'm a sicko and I like this kind of stuff. But like we were trying to find it, like we were Googling like where to find it,
right.
And like because I didn't even know like the name of it actually. I just knew that it was Tucker Carlson's fucking January 6th documentary, and we were like trying to Google it, and like if you Google it, like the top like 10 results are like from like articles from like MSNBC and the New York Times and shit, and like all these like liberal media outlets criticizing it, and so like to actually like find anything about where you can watch it like takes so long. So like I was joking about like how the liberal media is suppressing this, but it's like once I actually got the Fox Nation app, that's when the real challenge began, because it is the most awful like terrible user interface. Like you can't. The name of the thing is Patriot Purge, but if you search Patriot Purge,
it doesn't come up. Which is not. I don't think that's them trying to cleverly like hide.
Oh, of course.
This very controversial thing.
Yeah.
Like the first thing that comes up is the Dan Boingingo. What the fuck is his name? Boingingo.
Yeah.
There's like because he's got like another show or something that's called the Patriot something.
Mm-hmm.
So when you search in the app for Patriot Purge, it's just like tons of thumbnails of like him standing, and you really have to dig for like the ominous.
Yeah,
with his arms
you search Tucker Carlson, and it still doesn't really help you. You have to know that the programming that you're looking for is Tucker Carlson originals, and then it's in there. Which it's like, I mean, if it took me that long to find it, I mean, they're like Fox News's target demographic is like 60 to 80 years old. Can you fucking imagine?
Right.
I
Yeah.
could not imagine.
I mean, especially given the fact that like what's available on this content, it does seem like it's some half-hearted approach to, in general, like, I don't know, like modernize or create new stuff, but it's content that doesn't seem to be aimed at younger people necessarily. It's still aimed at their core audience. It's not like a rebranding of this stuff. It's again, totally unnavigable. But yeah, so you have to go to and find Tucker Carlson originals. And he started doing these this year. And so the idea of Tucker Carlson originals is like, in addition to his nightly show, now he has this like pet project where he can do what in the first episode he calls it like long form journalism. It's like in his mind, it's like PBS Frontline or whatever, like investigative hour-long pieces. But they're
sorry. He's also got, I don't know if you noticed, I watched that episode of It as well. He's also got another program on Fox Nation that's, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like his attempt at like a Sunday morning like sit down long form interview show where he's in like he's not in the suit, he's in like slacks and like khaki slacks and like a button down semi formal. He's dressing down a little bit. It's Sunday.
Right. It's, I mean, both of these scream as like vanity projects that the network has sort of conceded to Carlson because he is able to pull whatever he is able to. You know what I mean? Like he's sort of the vision, the future of their network. He's, with a lot of the older kind of big names like O'Reilly and Hannity moving out, like he's their flagship guy. And he's young, theoretically, he's got many years of this shit left in him. So like we have to like do what he wants. And I really want to show just the first like minute of the first episode of this. Okay, I'm gonna try to do the share screen thing we usually do for our dear listener to like cue you into what we're watching. I'm only half sure it's even gonna work with how janky this fucking app is on my computer. But this is from the first episode.
Hell yeah, let's do it, baby.
Oh fuck.
Hell yeah.
From sunny Southern California, the premiere of Tucker Carlson Originals, a Fox Nation exclusive. And now, your host, Tucker Carlson.
Welcome. We're coming to you from the Fox studio lot in Los Angeles. We want to give you the first look at something we've been working on for months now. It's a new series of long-form journalism called Tucker Carlson Originals. We've come to Los Angeles for a reason. This city was once the center of American creativity. People moved here from all over the world to tell stories. Creating art requires open-mindedness and a commitment to the truth. That's what art is. It doesn't have to be nonfiction, but it must be true. There's not much art being made in Los Angeles anymore, probably because people here can no longer tell the truth. Lying is mandatory. Every idea, every word is measured against political imperatives. If it hurts the party, it cannot be said. Free thinkers are swiftly punished. What a shocking change this is.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
It goes on, but you can tell where he's going with that, right?
Tucker Carlson is so, and like this is like that's just the impression I get from him all the time. Like he's obviously he's not a stupid man, but he knows that his audience is, and he obviously believes that his audience is. Like the contempt that he has for his audience is extraordinary on all levels. Like especially just like this whole like just just like this transformation of his over the past few years, like since he's been on Fox, and especially with like during the Trump administration and everything, like his fucking like Tucker Carlson, the fucking prep school scion of the Swanson frozen dinner for fucking fortune is now he's repositioning himself as like this like man of the people, like truth teller type thing, when he's gonna like and then like release this like 70-minute documentary, which is just like outright fabrication. I mean, just sheer propaganda.
Yes. I mean, I think it goes without saying that, I mean, the Patriot Purge, again, which is, it's 3 episodes. The full runtime is really only 70 minutes when you strip out all the fucking ads and shit that are like burned into the videos when you watch them on the Fox Nation app. Like you're saying, Chris, I mean, it's blatant propaganda. Like, it's just it's riddled with like every conceivable, like very obvious surface lie. And the other thing too that's weird, just before we get into Patriot Purge proper, that I just wanted to point out
Patriot Purge proper.
That I just wanted to point out about this like whole like the Tucker Carlson originals. Like the very first one, he's like standing in like an LA studio on like a literal red carpet that they've made up for him under one of those, you know, those like tents that they erect to like keep out the sun and stuff. And it's just such a bizarre contrast of that. And then again, like you're saying, you know, his sort of like, I'm a man of the people, this sort of like folksy, down to earth, whatever. And he's just like a rich kid who now, through being the sort of fascist mouthpiece, is like able to tell the studio, like, I want to be able to go to LA and like make movies that complain about like wokeness in Hollywood or whatever. And they're like, yes, sir. Like, we'll get you a team for that immediately. So anyway, so he started doing these in the first one was like April. And then the he's been doing a series of them. He did the Patriot Purge. Again, that was released in early November. More recently than that, this month, he just came out with The Trial of Kyle, which is his like.
I keep seeing that one. I haven't watched it yet. I just don't even think I can bring myself to. Yeah,
I don't want to do that. But obviously, that's his like sit down interview with Kyle Rittenhouse. But to give you a sense too of just like what the vibe of these are, like here are some of the titles of the other episodes.
The vibes are rancid.
Yeah, lay it on me.
So Chicago in crisis.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Green energy scams, Maine. Hunting MS-13.
There we go.
That sounds okay.
In all caps, AR-15 under assault. The illegal invasion.
Nancy Pelosi lets people shit on the streets. Is that
and then just the UFO files.
Wait, what?
Okay.
And then I guess since I've read most of them, just here. Blown away, the people versus wind power. So, like, these are, like, his, you know, I think it's pretty clear that these are presented as whatever, again, the sort of PBS frontline investigative journalism. These are, like, his pet interests, and they're largely just the culture war things, right? They're like, they're coming for your guns, illegal immigrants are invading the country.
They're teaching
aliens are
critical
real.
race theory to your preschoolers.
Right. Aliens are using CRT and their UFOs to abduct Hollywood execs and brainwash them, etc. But, to get into it then in earnest, let's talk about the Patriot Purge. I've watched it now in total, like at least 3 times all the way through. And probably closer to 4 or 5 with like watching like repeated clips over and over again. So my perspective on it might be a little biased, but what did you guys think of the Patriot Purge just on the whole?
I mean, I thought it was good. And I just, I wanted to say, just before we kind of start here that the Capitol is like the kind of like the most sacred and hallowed place. And, we're really passionate about the sanctity of our democratic norms. And that's why we wanted to do this episode. And it's a shame what Antifa did that day.
Yeah, that's right. What about you, Carrie? You watched it a couple times.
I'm gonna be honest. So I watched part of it when I was helping you with your thing, and then I went back today and I watched all 3 parts again today, and I was really high for like the first 2 of them by accident. And I will say that like the way that they reuse footage, like there was a clip where there was like a moose crossing the street, and then they start playing the same clip backwards. Like just the whole vibe of the way that they use the footage is like so sinister. And this is to say nothing of like the 9/11 and like torture footage that they repeatedly do in like slow motion. Just really a horrific compilation of images is what the impression I walk away with.
It's super inflammatory and like gruesome, and like within the first 5 minutes, there's a clip of like an ISIS beheading video. Where
they use it a number of times.
Yeah, they
so
cut
many
it
times.
like right before they're about to cut the guy's throat, and it's like fucking like little old ladies are watching this. Like that's your target demographic,
and they show the same images over and over. It's like they're trying to like brainwash these people by showing them these horrific images over and over and over. I
guess in a sentence to sort of summarize like what the thesis statement of Patriot Purge is something like the January 6th riot was actually a secretly concocted deep state plot in order to serve as the groundwork of a justification for a new war on terror.
Yes.
Which is extremely similar to the original War on Terror, which is a historical thing not going on anymore, according to the film.
And it never happened before then. We never, there was never any sort of like government overreach.
But if it did happen
before then,
it was good.
Yeah. So similar to how the Bush administration and the mainstream media and again the sort of nebulously scary deep state like use the 9/11 to justify the war in Iraq and like horrible draconian surveillance,
Guantanamo
Bay torture. Now they're using January 6th. That's like the same group of people who is just Biden, who did the first War on Terror, is now doing that again, except it's aimed at what he calls at one point legacy Americans.
Yes. I specifically took note of that little turn of phrase. Yeah. No, they literally call it War on Terror 2.0 too.
Yeah, or the domestic War on Terror. They say a couple of times.
And it's funny because they'll like. Because like strewn throughout the entire series, but like particularly in the first episode, because the way they make this point, the way they try to make this connection is literally just by simply like showing clips of like George Bush talking about terrorists, or like this one clip of like Biden saying not Al Qaeda, white nationalists, over top of like footage of like Trump supporters or something, or like they'll show like the clips from like back in the early 2000s of like Senator Joe Biden supporting the war in Iraq, which Tucker Carlson also did.
Yes.
On Crossfire during the Bush administration. So, but it's really amazing how he's sort of been able to kind of do this heel turn, and he just like he has so much contempt for his audience that he can just sort of fucking do that and get away with it, and nobody cares. But he's internalized, or he's found a way to speak to all of this like sort of internalized distrust of government and all this sort of stuff that everybody has kind of gotten over the past 20, 30 years or so, regardless of political affiliation. He's found a way to like kind of speak to that, but to really sort of like strip it of any meaning. Yeah.
And to be clear, the rough parameters of the argument that is made against the Bush administration war on terror that is presented is like the correct one, right? It's basically saying that 9/11 was used as again a sort of a drummed up justification for beating the war drums, for handing unlimited power to the national security state, and all of this stuff. But there's a lot to pick apart there. In terms of then how it's being contextualized and then reframed in the context of January 6th.
I mean, even when they're talking about like the situation that the rioters have experienced after being arrested, they're talking about like real stuff that happens in prisons literally every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they didn't care about it until it supposedly happened to like the real Americans.
The legacy Americans,
the legacy
which are
Americans.
clearly white people.
White
like that's
people.
what's being said, and I think that's one of the most revealing things about that consistent use of the war on terror as a sort of linguistic and narrative framing of what's going on now is that exactly like you say, Carrie, everything that they use as like, can you believe this spooky thing is happening? It's being said in the way of like, because it's happening to people like you, white people, like Republican conservative people, right, are being arrested and having to deal with the prison system and having to deal with like their phones being tapped or whatever, that kind of shit. But at the same time, and this is the really curious thing for me, is that it takes, like, in order to make the argument that it's making, it has to say, like, the original war on terror was unjust, right? And it does that, but it frames that in a very particular way, because at the same time, it can't admit that the original war on terror was wrong, or that the targets of the original war on terror didn't deserve it.
Right.
Because it's constantly still talking about, like, terrorists in, like, broad strokes. Like, the point, the argument that's made is, like, can you believe that they're comparing you to Al-Qaeda terrorists,
right?
Those like horrible brown people who like that deserved like the wars and stuff. It's always flipped around like that. Like, can you believe that you have to deal with what like we did to them? It's a very weird internalization.
Yeah, I think it's Joseph McBride, the attorney for some of the January 6th defendants, that talks through that specifically and says, like, the stuff that we did to terrorists to get them to like tell the truth about terrorism, which is obviously good, now they're doing to like good Americans that haven't done anything wrong.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting as well, because there's like they cite the, journalism from The Intercept several times in the series, and particularly like the story about the FBI, like basically, framing people and encouraging people to commit crimes when they were like doing like, terrorism investigations supposedly after 9/11, which is all very valid criticism, but it's all presented in a way to give credence to the belief that these people already have, that, well, this is happening to us now, right? We're the ones that are being oppressed now, and they use the Governor Whitmer kidnapping plot as an example of that, because like fucking like half of the people that were involved in that were like FBI agents or FBI informants or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's fucked up. Yeah, it's true. These are valid criticism. It's fucked up the way the fucking law enforcement in the national security state does this kind of stuff. But like this isn't shit that happened that just suddenly started happening post 9/11, which is basically what you have to believe to kind of like buy into this sort of narrative they're presenting. There's the one guy, the guy that like put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, that they interview in this series, but there's just like one clip of him that they cut to over and over again throughout the series, where he's like, we don't, this isn't America. We don't do this. We don't just like detain U.S. citizens without trial and just murder people and murder protesters. We don't do that.
Yeah,
that's a gulag, he says. That's a gulag. They bring up gulag a lot. They say gulag a lot. I think here the guy you're talking about there's a rough logic to each of the episodes, right? So maybe we should walk through each of them. The first episode is mostly about setting the stage of the whole war on terror framing, but also really spends most of its time making the argument that the January 6th riot didn't really happen in the way that you think it did. It was all either agitators or was all overhyped by the media, and it's really, the first episode is really like a reframing and being like, it's everybody else's fault except the Trump supporters who were there. Like, everybody else is to blame for what happened, and then subsequently the violence and stuff, except for the people who actually like organized like the fucking rally and shit.
Yeah, and the way they present it as well, and they do this thing, and tell me if you picked up on this as well, because I feel like almost every time, because they show repeatedly, they show like footage of the crowd of the riot that day in the Capitol, and like when they show people committing acts of violence, they're predominantly showing footage of people who are dressed mostly in black, and that's not by accident. It's certainly not by accident. And like a lot of the other footage they'll show is like people, other people in the crowd who are like, "Hey, we can't fight cops. This isn't us. We're not like this." Right. Which, I mean, certainly there were people there, obviously saying that stuff, who didn't participate in fucking any violence or break into the Capitol, but obviously some of them did. But they begin to present to insinuate that this was some sort of false flag. That this was like some sort of Joe Biden and Antifa coalition, where they first say, and they're interviewing that guy Darren Beattie from Revolver News or whatever, and he's the one that says that it was just like, the Stop the Steal rally. It was just like, your mom and dad pissed off that the election had been stolen and showing up to peacefully protest and have their voices heard. But, all they've seen on the news all year is just like Antifa rioting and burning down cities with no consequences. So, and he literally says the media gaslit them into thinking that they could riot without consequences as well. That's kind of the way they sort of introduce that. And then they sort of begin to insinuate that, well, maybe there were also, agitators in the crowd, left-wing agitators who...
There's a lady who says, like, me and 100 grandmas didn't storm the Capitol.
That's the troop. And she comes up then in the second episode, which is then kind of focused on, like, heart-wrenching accounts, first-hand accounts of people who have been arrested or faced some kind of, disruption in their work or whatever because they participated in the riot. But I want to quickly, because you brought him up, Darren Beattie. In the first episode, there's like a string of journalists that are presented, and they're all presented as like, we're independent journalists. They then like make that argument, like you were saying, Chris. I think it might actually be one of the other guys. I think it was Elijah Schaffer who says literally, the media was gaslighting the right. There's Darren Beattie, Elijah Schaffer, and then Taylor Hansen are three guys who are presented as journalists, right? And they're like independent, again, sort of like truth tellers outside the mainstream media. And so, of course, in the course of my research, I was like looking them up. So Darren Beattie, he was originally a Trump White House speechwriter.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2018, he got fired because it came out that he had spoken at like a media event with a bunch of like white nationalists. Like, and when I say white nationalists here, I mean like specifically, I forget the exact group, but it was not just a group. It wasn't like a group hiding. It's like Ethno State Project, right? So he was speaking there. So he had gotten fired from the Trump White House, and then after that, kind of did this stint in independent journalism. Obviously, that's not forwarded in the film. He's just presented as like, a neutral truth teller.
God, could you imagine getting fired for being too racist for the Trump White House?
You have to be like really fucking racist.
And he's also the guy, and it's worthy to note that like very early on, within the first 3 minutes of the movie, he's the one who says the media's coverage of the January 6th riot is MAGA blood libel.
Oh my God!
and he says blood libel then a couple of times. So that's one of their guys. Then there's Taylor Hanson, who's one of the guys they bring in to talk about like left-wing professional agitators.
He was originally in the band Hanson.
His claim to fame was over the year prior to that, he's an anti-abortion activist.
Okay.
And his thing was like doing graffiti in the street that said like "Baby Lives Matter."
This is the haircut guy, right?
They're all haircut guys. They all have.
Fair.
Darren Beatty is like a little bit older, but Hanson and Schaefer both kind of have that like hipster.
One, yeah. He's the one that tells this story, which like I've also watched this several times. And every time I watch it, I'm like, he's telling this story that he's like he talks about like Antifa, like beating him up and stealing his bike or something.
Yes, yes.
Every time I watch it, I just like hell yeah.
He mentions this guy over and over again, who then he said was present at January 6th, and the way he mentions it is like so calculated because he keeps saying the guy's name and his organization. Like he says both of them like within a 30-second soundbite. He says both of them 3 times. Like this guy in this organization did this to me, and this guy in this organization were present at January 6th. This guy, it's like it's a real like targeted.
And he even says, because like when he's telling the story about like Antifa like beating him up and stealing his bike or whatever, he basically like frames it as if this guy directed his followers to do that or whatever. And so he basically then kind of like says like he says a thing like sort of after saying that he was at the Capitol that day, saying like he's the kind of guy that could just like he'll just tell people to do stuff and they'll just do it. Basically like framing him as one of the agitators that whipped the crowd into a frenzy or whatever.
The last guy, Elijah Schaefer, the funniest thing about him, I think, is on the day of January 6th, he had like gotten into the Capitol building and he had tweeted out, I'm in the Capitol with like thousands of revolutionaries, like the revolution has begun or whatever. And he worked for The Blaze, which is Glenn Beck's, like right-wing digital media thing. And immediately, because he like tweeted out a picture of himself in Pelosi's office or whatever when he said like the revolution.
Yeah.
And then people were like, "Oh, you're there, like you're committing whatever, breaking and entering, whatever." And he immediately like deleted it, and then was tried to like day of he tried to backpedal and be like, "Well, I'm not saying they're revolutionaries in a good way, but he said all this glowing stuff." So it was basically the point here is that all the people in the documentary are like that are presented as independent journalists were either like literally there or were like Trump allies and Trump supporters, and that's that sort of goes without saying. Right? Like, you can take whatever they say and how they frame things with a certain grain of salt. But the gist of it then, again, is to blame like some loose coalition of like the media, which is always like the liberal media. It's like the liberal media,
the mainstream media, which Fox News as the number one news network isn't part of.
Yes, yeah. Tucker Carlson, not part of the mainstream media.
No.
But so it's like the media, the Biden, sort of a nefarious conglomeration of whatever federal law enforcement agencies and then the curious thing and the total nonsensical one is like and also the radical left, right? Like also Antifa, communist agitators were there to like frame grandma and grandpa, and then that's also in that one is when they bring the guy that you had mentioned, Chris Waller, in that first one, who's like presents himself as like I was a professional agitator and propagandist. That's the other funny thing. There's so many people in this thing who's like their claim of expertise is like I've been lying for years, and this is definitely a lie.
I'm the guy who sets up the false flag operations. You can trust me.
What was his whole thing is like I made like a fight break out at the Soviet peace conference or whatever.
He's they introduce him as a security analyst for the center, this organization called the Center for Security Policy, which I couldn't prove through Googling, but I'm just gonna say it's a fucking CIA cutout probably. So I don't know. But like the story he tells very proudly about like why he's able to identify a false flag is is because he fucking like did them and like worked as like a fucking agitator or whatever. But he tells this story about like very proudly about like at the like Soviet organized World Peace Conference, like having people like stage stage this protest or whatever, and like basically causing a fight to break out intentionally with the intention of like making the Soviet Union look bad because a fight broke out at the World Peace Conference. Right. And this is like, he's so fucking proud of this. He's so proud to tell that story. The other guy they interview in the first episode is Ali Alexander, who is one of my personal favorites. And there's so many good moments with him, because there's one moment in particular where he's like, Stop the Steal was the most law-abiding movement this country has seen in modern times. And then they cut to this crowd of Trump supporters chanting, and they're like, Christ is king, Christ is king, Christ is king. It's so good. And there's a really funny part, because here's the other thing, here's the way that Tucker Carlson and the way this documentary frames I guess sort of the criticism of this from within the Democratic Party, or the Democratic Party wanting to have a congressional commission on this or whatever, that sort of stuff, is to and they use this several times basically to frame the to try to say that what they're saying is that this was all organized on the right from the top down. You know what I'm saying? This was a coalition of fucking Trump and the Proud Boys, and there was they basically tried to say well, look how ridiculous it is that they're trying to say something like this. There's one part where they're following Ali Alexander as he's driving in the car, and they're playing this clip. They're of I guess a fucking Zoom meeting or something that his fucking organization had planning their protest for January 6th, and Tucker Carlson's narrating it, and it's we listened to Ali's entire January 6th planning session meeting, and they didn't once talk about insurrection or rioting or anything like that. And there's another part as well where they're there's a really good moment where they're we had a suspect 24 hours after 9/11. They had a suspect in custody 48 hours after Oklahoma City. It's been almost a year since January 6th, and we still don't have the supposed mastermind in custody. As if but that's not what anybody's saying. Obviously it's that's right. Not. I mean, there were some small groups sort of militia groups. There were obviously people who were there who had some sort of intentions of doing what happened. But it's not all of these people were all in on the same fucking conspiracy. Nobody's saying that. It's stupid to try to they're trying to frame it in this way, as if people are saying that there's some sort of grand conspiracy and that all of these people were organized. I mean, that's not what anybody's saying. Obviously, there were some people who had intentions of doing violence or breaking into the Capitol when they went there, but for the majority of the crowd, it's what a fucking riot is. They just got swept up. They probably didn't go there with any sort of intentions of anything like that happening. And they just got fucking swept up into it. I mean,
it's a way to create
exactly
a fake version of what your supposed enemy is saying, and then argue against that as if that's the point, which clearly it isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I mean, that's what the whole series does this, but the first episode is really based around sort of shifting the blame of why what occurred happened. The segment on again with the gaslighting the media thing is it's so atrocious, and it's so it's funny too, because at the very beginning, when they have Darren Beatty, in the first couple of minutes when they're making the whole 9/11 connection, one of the things that he says, the argument is they made this after 9/11, the media made this false association between 9/11 and Iraq, for example, and then they show some clips of the Bush administration saying shit like that,
all of which Tucker Carlson supported.
Right? Yeah. They showed footage to Tucker Carlson saying that. Well, of course not. But then later, and again, that's true. That is a propaganda technique to create a sense of association, and then within the next 10 minutes, the movie does that almost literally by creating this montage of Democratic politicians and CNN and NBC anchors saying stuff from uprisings in 2020 being like, these are largely peaceful protests and whatever, and then it'll like intercut that with like the January 6th footage to be like, see, they were encouraging them to do crimes.
Right.
There's like a solid 20-second clip of like just various like fucking CNN anchors like all saying peaceful protest, peaceful protest over like footage of like cops getting the shit kicked out of them, and
you're right,
exactly. Fires and stuff. Yeah.
And so maybe also it might be a good point here to bring up before we get to the other episodes, just in terms of like the crafting of this movie, right? I looked into it, and there's actually this helpful Daily Beast piece by our friend Will Sommer, who I'll we'll link in the show description here, that came out like when the trailer for this came out. And the title says it all. It just says, quote, "He's writing Tucker's deranged January 6th movie after directing a Pizzagator's opus." So what this talks about here is the fact that the Patriot Purge series was co-written by this guy Scooter Downey. And if you actually look at the credits of the Patriot Purge episodes, it's he doesn't just get writing credit, he gets co-producing credit and the editing credits. So it's fair to say, and since nobody has like a director credit or anything, and it's just like, him sharing it with Tucker, it's fair to say that the Scooter Downey person probably was like heavily involved in the creative decision process behind making this film, assembling it, how to create narratives or whatever. And as this Will Sommer piece details, prior to doing this, he did a film for Mike Cernovich, and then he did a film for Lauren Southern, and then another one.
Bannon? Is there a Bannon one in there?
No, there's not a Bannon one. He also directed Rebels Run, which is from this guy Theodore Robert Beale, who goes by the name Vox Day. Who's like another online alt-righty kind of guy. So basically this guy, I think the one that he did with Lauren Southern was like like an anti-Black Lives Matter, again, kind of documentary. The one with the Mike Cernovich, who of course is, infamous for the Pizzagate shit, as well as a whole slew of other kind of like alt-light media shit in the 2015-2016 presidential campaign season. He with that one, I think it's like a media piece about like whatever right-wing censorship, some insane thing like that. But the point here is that it's not like he's not even going in-house to Fox for like their propagandists. Like like this is like a pivot towards a very specific kind of like internet-based weird right-wing conspiracy space that he's pulling from. And that's sort of evident again in the sort of stylization of the movie and the people who are like, the featured interviewees and stuff in it. But yeah, it's very like the whole tone of the fucking thing is like super heavy-handed, and it's so like ominous. Again, there are all these like repeated clips. The music is like always, distorted and ambient droning sounds. And that like weird moose clip that you were talking about, Carrie, where it like takes any innocuous piece of B-roll that they have and does the weird like warping to it. That comes in the second episode, which is the one that's mostly about like how sad it is that these people who were there on January 6th are now being like persecuted or whatever.
And it has to be heavy-handed like that, because it's like in order to like attempt to be effective, because it's just so silly. Because what really happened that day is a bunch of fucking like yahoos like let themselves get whipped into a frenzy and fucking like rioted and broke into the Capitol. But the reality of that's what happened is just like so unpalatable to the right wing, who like this is their whole thing is loving cops and loving America, and like they can't even handle it, so they have to like create this completely other narrative. And it's interesting to sort of like watch this develop, because it's sort of like this like sort of like almost like accelerated version of like fucking like the Lost Cause fucking like narrative of the Civil War, right? Like the post-Confederacy, they have to try to like, they can't say that this was about slavery. They can't admit like why this happened, why this awful thing happened. They have to try to reframe it and to shift the blame off of themselves. And I mean, that's the whole point of this movie. So it has to be ridiculous and heavy-handed, because what they're saying is ridiculous and untrue, and it has to be because they're intentionally trying to create this counter narrative to what happened.
And that refusal to give even an inch on like anything, right? To refuse to be like anybody even made a mistake or anything went wrong. Like, no, that absolute refusal, I think, ties back to that weird like historicizing of 9/11 and the war on terror, where it's like simultaneously saying like, well, you know, the leadership was corrupt and evil, but at the same time, like the war was good. Because then like in the second episode, a lot of the people they profile are like troops, of course, and the whole point, you know, is that like, oh, a veteran, like there's a line at one point where Tucker says like the same veterans who used to like hunt down terrorists are now being hunted down with the techniques they used. And I do think ultimately what it's about like, it stems from a place of political and emotional like humiliation. It's the humiliation of defeat, right? It's like you can't let go at all and have any amount of reflection. And in the piece that I wrote up about it, I quote from that Spencer Ackerman book, which I also I used one of the same quotes that I used in the 9/11 episode for listeners of the show, where he talks about how, you know, the connection between the sort of failure of the war on terror and the rise of Trump is similarly like the war on terror was sold as this, you know, grand narrative of conquest and moral righteousness. And of course, obviously, it was ultimately corrupt and evil and like an imperial failure and had all these like different things and interests wrapped up in it. And so, you know, the part of Trump's like appeal and the Trump movement was sort of a vehicle to reclaim the agency that had been stripped from them from losing the war on terror, right? Like, you can't admit that we lost, and that's why, like, you know, Ackerman very astutely brings up a number of times that, like, Trump's whole thing is, like, we don't win anymore. When was the last time we won anything, right? So the Trump movement, again, was a way for like the far right to try to like reclaim that loss of victory. And then similarly, this movie is doing the same fucking thing with January 6th. It's trying to like reclaim and be like, actually nothing bad happened. We didn't lose that, right? We didn't lose. We did, you know, we would have stopped the steal if it weren't for those meddling radical left, you know, deep state agents. And then ultimately it also then gets into this, you know, the obvious thing of like victimization, which is then what the second episode is largely about, right? It's like, look at these peaceful, you know, this mom and pop in Alaska. All they want to do is hunt and fish, and now the FBI is like raiding their house and burning their copy of the Constitution or whatever.
Well, it's funny because it's like it's just like you're saying, like the like the way this documentary or like this film is a way to try to like reclaim that victory, but like so like that's like that feeling, that notion is what like caused this entire thing to happen in the first place. I mean, it's just like the complete unwillingness and inability to accept the reality and accept the fact that Trump had lost the election.
Exactly.
And then to fucking like stir all this shit up and feed people this shit for months, which like obviously Fox News, and I mean, if anybody is to blame for fucking January 6th, it's Donald Trump and Fox News themselves.
Right.
And like QAnon shit.
Yes.
But it's interesting as well, because I feel like there's sort of like another sort of element, because like obviously the reason everybody was organized there was because of like the Stop the Steal shit. That was like in name the reason that people were there. But I can't help but think that like part of the reason everybody got like sort of whipped up into a frenzy and decided to do what they did was not just about the belief that the election had been stolen, but just sort of this like the culmination of a lifetime of bitterness and resentment at the elites elites in Washington, and the Republican Party has done, and Tucker Carlson is one of the ones who's very effective at doing it. The Republican Party has done an excellent job over the past few decades of making the Democrats the party of the elites, and the Democrats have sort of helped them with that every step of the way, like since basically sort of like abandoning labor in the 1970s. But they've allowed the Republicans to position themselves as the party of the working class, right? The Democratic voters even help them do it. I mean, think about all of the fucking like pearl clutching liberals who look at what happened at the Capitol and like call it a fucking like it was an insurrection. It was an attack on the very heart of our democracy by these like unwashed fucking rednecks. And like how dare they? Like that kind of sort of narrative, that sort of kind of reaction to it. And I mean that's a big part of it as well, is that sort of fucking like resentment against the elite. And the elite is entirely reframed as like culture war bullshit. It's not like the actual elite. It's not like rich people.
Right. I mean, and the other weird thing too is that in terms of like the people they profile and stuff, right? Again, they use this language both in the film uses it both in terms of like narration, but it highlights like interview clips with these people, especially in that second episode where people are talking again about like we're sort of like folksy, down to earth people. We're just like there's the one again there's the one woman who's a troop, Emily Grace Rainey, I think her name is, and it's like I'm just like a mom. Here I am with like my my kids, but at the same time it's like I think the couple in Alaska who is like where the moose footage comes in, like they own like a bed and breakfast, like they're all like small business owners and stuff. It's not like they're like really like the sort of salt of the earth working poor. They're they're like rich, sort of middle class, like boomers and maybe slightly younger, deeply like again, but it's all framed in that way of like the sort of culture war of like this is small town America, this is real America.
Yeah. I mean,
and the second episode is where they say legacy Americans or Tucker says legacy Americans. Yeah,
like any kind of fucking like class analysis has been like totally stripped from any sort of like political discussion. Like when people talk about elites, like a fucking like grad school student in Manhattan could be like an urban elite to like a fucking guy in a McMansion in exurban Texas who like owns car dealerships or something. Like it's completely at this sort of like cultural level, and they've been very effective at maintaining this narrative of like the elites, and like this documentary does an effective job of that, as well as framing this as the elites in Washington, they want to fucking trample all over your freedoms, they want to fucking brainwash your kids into hating America, and they're going to arrest you for peacefully protesting and kick your door in and all this sort of stuff, which is actually is what law enforcement does very often to left-wing protesters.
Right.
But yeah, it's a way of reframing this sort of discussion and stripping it of any sort of class analysis, and then making it all of this fucking like ridiculous culture war shit that like at the end of the day doesn't really fucking mean a whole lot of anything.
I think too, the second episode, which again is mostly like these interviews, it kind of does a lot of the same work that the third episode does, which is then it's more interviews with people who had participated. It's that one guy's lawyer. We mentioned McBride, and then it's the Babbitt family, and there's like
it's the clip of Ashley Babbitt getting shot like fucking 80 times.
Is used, easily.
My God. It's so gratuitous.
Easily a dozen times is shown, and that's the moment where the turn as well that the film is making is not just creating a sense of victimization for the people in the film, right, where they tell their stories and they're like, oh, I was hounded, I was treated so horribly by federal agents, which is what that like couple in Alaska says. And there is a moment where the guy's like, they like confiscated my copy of the Constitution, and if you have a copy of your constitutional rights, you're a radical now, you're an extremist,
right.
Which is a way to sort of depoliticize what their actual politics are and frame it in this like whatever, in this very vague cultural nationalism, right? It's like, oh, you know, we're just for freedom, we're for free elections, we're for the spirit of 1776 and all of this kind of shit, when it doesn't actually get into like the specifics of like why they were there on that day, or like what their politics are that lead them to support that. But really, ultimately, the turn that's done.
We were just there to support election integrity. That's it.
The real turn in terms of victimization is redirected at the viewer.
Yes,
which is constantly. Like, every time they get an interview subject to be like, this is how they treated me, it's always like, and next they're going to treat you.
Exactly.
Like, the next thing that's going to happen is the FBI is going to break down your door because of 1984 George Orwell Animal Farm, and they're going to say, let me see your, like, party membership card, and you're going to show it, and it's going to say Republican, and they're going to put you in the gulag. Dude, that McBride lawyer, he opens, I think it's the opening of the 3rd episode, where he just outright says, like, the left is hunting the right. They're hunting them, and they're going into their houses, they're black bagging them, they're dragging them out, and they're throwing them into the gulag, they're throwing them into Guantanamo Bay for Americans. Because the original Guantanamo Bay is okay. It's Guantanamo Bay for Americans. That's really the spooky and scary thing.
And what all of this does like serves to do as well is to like feed into already this existing like persecution complex that that these people have, where it's like, well, like this is like, you know, first they're fucking like, this is exactly like when, like, remember when your Twitter account got banned for saying the N-word? Like this is exactly the same. Next, the FBI is going to kick your door down. It's that kind of thing.
There's a line here. I want to read. Just this is like one of the lines of narration that Tucker uses to frame this. And by the way, too, I should say, like, a lot of in terms of like the you know, the production quality of the film itself, outside of the interviews that it does with its subjects, the stuff that's shot of Tucker when he's narrating, it just looks like he's in a hotel suite.
It does.
And then all the other stuff, they just like constantly cut to Tucker's program, like previous segments that he's done on the program. It's like, you know, it's very like, we're going to recycle this material, which also makes sense because Carlson has been pushing the January 6th truther shit since January 6th of last year. But anyway, just to speak towards like the way that the victimization stuff is framed. So here's one of the things that he says. He says, quote, "All of the Orwellian methods employed by the surveillance state in the war on terror are now used to track down and purge American war veterans, law enforcement officers, and any journalists who ask the wrong questions. It took a decade for the federal government to find Osama bin Laden. They can find you a lot faster. They likely already have."
Yeah. You're already on a list.
Yes, and that's like the thing that is then bookends all of these interviews with you know, people who were there, but also then like the Ashley Babbitt shit, where it's like it shows you know, her getting killed. I think at one point he says like the first victim of the new war on terror was an American war veteran of the first. And
what a rhetorical move.
And it's always redirected again at the audience, where it's like, you're next. Like, you're the person they're gonna come after. If you're watching this, even just watching this means that you're next on the hit list of the Antifa Justice Department.
Right.
And you know, besides like the silliness of it, and besides the absurdity of all of these claims, and like, you know, there's already been a ton of whatever institutional journalist outlets and stuff that have like done fact checks on it, and surprise, like pretty much every claim in this is a lie. Like, say like an easily disproven lie within like a 5-second Google search or any real digging. But like the way that it creates this tension and basically says, again, there's like a number of times where they say like, this is not like a metaphorical war, this is a literal war. This is a war that's being fought against you by like the paramilitary Justice Department.
This is the way for them to you know, just get rid of people whose political beliefs and whose views are inconvenient.
Anybody who reads the Constitution or has a copy of the Declaration of Independence, anybody who's ever watched the John Adams miniseries from HBO is a target of the vindictive Biden administration.
Which and it's like it's so silly as well, and it's like it's such effective framing of this to like I have to include Biden in all of this because like. What did you think was going to happen when fucking a bunch of people like fucking broke down the windows into the Capitol and ran into it? Did you think that the fucking like FBI just wasn't going to arrest people? Like it doesn't. It wouldn't matter if fucking like it wouldn't matter if fucking like if it was a Republican in the White House, if it was a Democrat in the White House, or who it was. The fucking FBI is still going to do this shit. They're still going to arrest people for doing that kind of stuff. It's like and for as much as like the right wing likes to talk about the fucking like deep state, they sure have a real blind spot for it when it actually like presents itself. You know, I mean these fucking like you know this past year of investigations and arrests would have happened whether Biden was in office or if Trump was in office. It would have happened no matter what. You can't just do that and not think that that the FBI isn't going to come arrest you. And
I mean, I think at the end of the day, too, for a lot of them, like you were saying, Chris, you know, they got like kind of swept up in a moment. There were probably a few like actual groups, you know, who had some like coordinated plan to do, you know, whatever to break in. But most people just sort of like went with the crowd and, you know, they like.
And I get it.
Really thought.
I get it. I mean, shit. Can you imagine? Like, I've watched a lot of like, I've watched like all the documentaries about this stuff. I know the New York Times has done one. A couple of different folks have done one.
Yeah.
And
I've
they're all really
too,
interesting to me for you know the political aspect of it aside. But like, it's really interesting to be able to watch this like extremely detailed, documented. Basically just watching like a riot form in real time and it's all on video and it's very fascinating to watch. But man, can you fucking imagine the high of like getting to the top of those stairs? I get it. I can imagine how those people must have felt.
And at the same time too, I think ultimately, even though it wasn't well thought through, a lot of them but a lot of them probably believed, you know, erroneously of a number of things. That first of all, like Trump would have their back, which he doesn't give a shit.
They essentially, that they were basically that they'd been deputized by the president to like stop a crime and process.
But even for. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say even like Ashley Babbitt's family like frames it like that. Like she thought she was going there to like hang out with the president. And they have like that clip of her like live streaming like it's me and like millions of other Americans out here with the president. Like also, which is a big overestimate of how many people were there.
And that's another. I mean, that's the real tragedy to me when I look at the Ashley Babbitt death, because it is tragic. Obviously, it's tragic, and it's tragic, and I'm obviously never going to be supportive of fucking the state like summarily executing somebody. I don't think that she necessarily needed to be shot, but or at least killed that. But it is tragic. I mean, the reason she was there was basically because of fucking QAnon shit drove her nuts. Yeah. I mean, that's tragic. That's really sad that she died for that reason.
I think furthermore too, it is, beyond just the specificity of Trump and the Trump movement, although that can't be understated when talking about, what happened. And also, by the way, is mostly curiously absent from the movie. They barely mention fucking Trump at all. And if they do, it's indirectly. It's always like my president or my commander in chief or whatever. I think there's only one time where Trump is actually like name checked. I think, again, speaking to what we were talking about in terms of the weird contextualization and, revisionist historicizing of the war on terror, as well as like the stuff like legacy Americans, right? It's at the end of the day, this group of people didn't believe that they would actually have to face consequences for their shit.
Right.
Because the reason why the right supports draconian authoritarian government is specifically because they think that they will be immune to it, right? Like these laws they don't really apply to me. They apply to troublemakers, and troublemakers then are always like racially coded, or if not just, again, sort of like culturally, politically associated with like, the liberals are the troublemakers. Like I'm a good boy. I'll be safe. They'll know that, my heart was in the right place or whatever, which, when confronted then with the reality of the logic of power, like law enforcement, is like, it certainly is surprising. And, it can be sort of amusing to be like, well, yeah. Well, like you were saying, Chris, like, what did you think? Like, the FBI wasn't going to arrest you for, like, not just breaking into the Capitol building, but, like, live streaming yourself doing it. And being like, look at me! I'm on top of the world, baby! Here's my address. Here's my home. Here's all my contacts. But so then ultimately, like, in terms of the point of, making this movie, and putting it out there, I think it is, again, it's on one level, it's a very obvious just propaganda piece of, like, doing the sort of conspiratorial blame shifting and victimization of, like, it wasn't like it was some outside force and look at poor us. Right, like this is all ginned up. This is all made up. None of this is real. And we're being targeted for our political beliefs, and then you are too. But in addition to that, then like the war on terror stuff kind of invokes those emotional feelings of humiliation that we talked about. And it does ultimately like it's really difficult to watch. I wouldn't necessarily recommend watching it, not because
and
I'm pretty I'm pretty inundated on this stuff again just through my own research and and I know like we all watch a lot of this shit either for this show or just out of our own curiosity.
This before we even I just watched this just to watch it.
just to watch it. But like this one in particular is like really like just fucking sickening to watch because of not just like the stuff like obviously with Ashley Babbitt using that clip over and over again, but like the repeated use of like you were talking about, Chris, like ISIS beheading videos.
9/11.
There's 9/11. I did a count, and if I'm right, it's mentioned or shown 17 times. And when I say shown, I mean they use like footage from the towers, like exploding and stuff. And that's an average of every 4 minutes in this movie. They bring up 9/11 and show it.
Yeah, that's kind of like the point I was making in the beginning is like this entire sort of comparison that they're trying to make, that they're trying to draw between like the post 9/11 war on terror and January 6th. It's like basically the way they accomplish it is just showing a bunch of unrelated footage of like Bush talking about Al Qaeda and 9/11. Yeah. Like that's all they do, and then just like juxtapose that with like they'll show like fucking like 9/11 and then like fucking like January 6th stuff, and they'll like put that back and forth, and then they'll show the clip of Biden being like not Al Qaeda, white supremacist.
Yes.
And that's how they draw that comparison in the laziest way possible.
But also really upsetting too is they do a similar comparison when they're talking about the treatment of the January 6th rioters in prison or whatever. They cut to footage and the pictures from like Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo and stuff, and they and so it's just like viscerally really upsetting.
It's
and
so surreal.
And it's really obviously it's like I don't know, it's like a weird kind of. It feels like, I mean, this is obvious, but it's like, I don't know, it's like disrespectful to the people who like actually like really suffered at the hands of like the American imperial war machine.
Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson.
And then to be like, and then to be like, this is happening to you or this could happen to you. And especially because again, it's always framed as like, well, those people kind of did deserve it. The real crime is not that it's happening; it's now that it's happening to you. That's what it's ultimately trying to communicate, right? It's like it's coming after you. Like you are going to be treated like this ISIS beheader, but also you're going to be beheaded by ISIS at the same time.
Right.
Like they're going to treat you like the DOJ is going to come in and like burn your copy of the Bible, make you like swear an oath to the Quran and the Communist Manifesto simultaneously, and then like stick you in a critical race theory re-education camp. Like that's the vibe of this fucking thing. The gulag. They love to say the gulag. Like the United States has a gulag. Like the federal prison system is larger than the gulags ever fucking were.
Yeah. I mean, of course they don't have respect for those people, right? Like something that I've brought up a lot since we watched it is like that they very clearly don't even care about, like Ashley Babbitt, like her family and
Yes,
Tucker Carlson
yes.
and everybody else. They're like happy that this happened to her because they all get to be on TV and talk about it.
Oh,
like they love it.
I think is it Taylor Hanson, the younger guy? Because he comes back in when they're doing the Ashley Babbitt stuff. I think he might have been present when that was going on.
Yes,
and he might have filmed some of it, and so he's like, they lean heavily into him, to sort of set up that segment, and you can tell he's just like, I get to be, one of the right's propagandists now. This is so good.
He feels like blessed that this happened.
And for his career, I mean, like, again, he's one of the ones that has had a more recent rise in the sense of, he really just started out like a year ago spray painting Baby Lives Matter, and then the best thing that happened for his career trajectory was that like Antifa like kicked his ass. And then this, and the fact that he was present here. And I do think, in terms of the long-term consequences of, a movie like this, it's, I don't think it's like specifically this piece of propaganda is going to do a whole lot beyond reaffirming what the people who are going to watch it already believe and shit. But, it doesn't really, but for those people, it is going to like help them shore up their sets of arguments that they have about January 6th and refusal to ever admit that it was anything except some whatever Antifa deep state plot. But it also is, with like one of the reasons I also wanted to bring up that guy, Scooter Downey, who, who's in here, it does show a pivot. And I do think that this is useful in thinking about, at least, in that like Fox, and we've talked about this on the show. I mean, when we did our episode on Tucker Carlson, as well as a couple of other ones where we've talked about like the right-wing media and What America News Network and all these kind of like alternative things that are coming up in this space, like Fox like has dominated the right media ecosystem basically for 25 years. And now they're at this weird crossroads where they have to like juggle whether or not they're fully in on the Trump thing or if they're not, and how weird and insane can they really get? And I do think at least like with Carlson, his choice to pick like a guy who's cut his jib fucking doing videos for like fake internet micro celebrities and the alt-right about the dangers of censorship or Black Lives Matter or whatever. The fact that he's like going in that direction shows at least their flagship guy is doing that. And there have been a number of people within Fox who are very unhappy about it. And I do want to, as we wrap up, mention a couple of them. I know Geraldo is apparently unhappy with this direction. He said something like, these is like fucking conspiracy people or whatever. Chris Wallace recently left, and there was a lot of like buzz that like it was because of like this turn that Carlson has made. There were two contributors for Fox who made like a very public departure, specifically in response to the airing of Patriot Purge. And it was Jonah Goldberg and Stephen Hayes. And I wanted to bring them up because they did this thing, and then, they got their own, like, 15 minutes. They got, like, a profile piece in the New York Times about how, like, this is, like, an insane divergence from the true principles of conservatism and the right. And this is not, like, intellectually sound, so we want to go and kind of stake our own claims. They're starting some other media outlet now, and I just wanted to bring that up because it's very emblematic of the never Trumper crowd, right? Like the not the Patriot Project. What the fuck was it called? The Lincoln Project. Right. Like those guys, like that kind of like move of like we're conservatives, but we're the good ones. And Jonah Goldberg, in particular, had said something in this New York Times profile piece about him about like, oh, how, this is like so much like hyperbole and conspiracism or whatever. Like he became famous, or certainly the first time I heard of him was in 2008. He wrote a book called Liberal Fascism and the cover of the book had smiley face with a Hitler mustache on it, and
very measured.
The subtitle, like the full title of the book, makes it so much better. It's I actually pulled it up here: Liberal Fascism: The Secret History of the American Left, from Mussolini to the Politics of Meeting.
Yes, yes. It's really fucking bad. And I read it once when somebody showed it to me in college to try to like own me. They were like, oh yeah, like look at this, and it's such dog shit. There's a really funny review of it at the time from David Newart, who's a journalist who covers like right wing extremism and stuff. Who more recently has written more about like the Trump movement. He has a really good book called Alt America. But anyway, his review of the book is really funny, and I recommend you take a read. But it's not just like intellectually dog shit in the sense of, which it is, but it's totally unsubstantiated. It's like the Dinesh D'Souza move of like, did you know the Democrats founded the KKK?
Right.
That kind of thing. They're the real racists. But beyond that, it also shows that like all of the moves that are being done now in the Trump movement and that kind of iteration of the right, which is basically the mainstream conservative movement at this point, and the one that's being advocated by Patriot Purge, these kind of insane hyperbolic moves to be like, you're the Nazis. They've been doing that for decades, and the same fucking people who like literally made their fucking career out of doing that are now the ones who are trying to like jump off the ship as it sinks into like just total insanity. And be like, oh, this thing that I helped build for 20 years. I better get off this train before I lose all fucking credibility. But so fuck them. Like fuck anybody who's like working still at Fox that high up to be like, oh, I'm gonna leave. Like I hope they don't get any more jobs ever again. But also obviously fuck Patriot Purge. It's really horrible and awful to watch. And
don't watch it.
Yeah, we watch it so you don't have to.
That's right.
That's not exactly the Eat the Rich promise, but it might as well be. I don't know.
Yeah, this was definitely less fun than other stuff that we've watched for the show, I think.
Oh, sure. Well, because it's real, right? Yeah. Like it has its leverage of reality. It is still fantastical in the way a lot of the conspiratorial stuff that the three of us have watched for this, and in the same way it does that victimization. Like what was which was the movie? It was one of the like 666 movies where there were like a number of shots of like two of the main characters and they were like sitting at like a Panera Bread outside in like Arizona or whatever, and they were like getting threatened for not having the 666 thing. It's like that conception. It is
real.
Yeah, it is a quasi religious conception of like, I'm going to be persecuted for my beliefs and my my convictions, and they're gonna like come to my suburban strip mall and like raid me while I'm trying to enjoy my Papa John's because just because I was at a riot in the U.S. Capitol.
Riot.
And there were pictures and videos of me storming the building and like destroying like government property and stuff. Just because that the FBI wants to come and hound me down and steal my Bill of Rights.
And I just one more thing I do want to say about because another thing that they do in the documentary, which is to like constantly show like just like clips of like hyperventilating fucking CNN anchors who like probably all want fucking like nuclear war with Russia or something. They're all like, this is an insurgency and we have to deprogram these radicals, which obviously is all also silly.
Oh, of course.
Like, I of course have all the same sort of criticisms about that sort of stuff, but they sort of like they use the very most extreme versions of this sort of hyperbole of like fucking like CNN anchors comparing
Chris Cuomo.
Comparing
there's
this
a bunch
to 9/11
of
or this or that or whatever. They try to like use like just the most ridiculous extreme clips of like CNN contributors saying stuff like that to try to frame any sort of criticism as like what's being said,
I mean, to be clear, they should be deprogrammed, but also should all of those like CNN anchors and MSNBC. They all should be, they all should be
sent to the gulag.
They all should be put into re-education camps or whatever, and told the benefits of our program.
Yeah, we're gonna burn their fucking constitutions and their copy of Audacity of Hope.
We're gonna Patriot Purge them.
We're gonna purge all patriots.
That's right.
Until you're not allowed to leave until you say I hate this country, and we make you like spit on the flag while a bunch of cops and troops watch,
Crying.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Again, it's by the time this comes out, it'll be like within a week, the actual year anniversary of January 6th. We'll see. Never forget. They should make like pins.
The bubble stick, the ribbon.
No, they should make
magnets,
when I was younger, I found this pin that my dad had for a long time, I guess from like the 80s, and it was like a Palestinian flag and an Irish flag, and it was like the PLO and the IRA, and it was like two people, one struggle. Mm-hmm. It was sort of like a symbolic gesture of solidarity. They should make like a commemorative pin that does that with 9/11 and 1/6. Two humiliations, one fascist eagle shall rise to conquer them both. Somebody should get a tattoo that says that.
Somebody almost certainly already has a tattoo of something like that.
Yeah. So, or I fought on 9/11 and January 6th. Yeah. We'll see. And
hey, this will also come out right after Christmas, so Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry
Happy holidays. I'm sorry.
Cut
Cut that.
Christmas.
Cut that.
Do not cut that.
This will come out right after Christmas. So if you celebrated Christmas, what I have to say to you is, you're not allowed to.
Man, it didn't even occur.
The war on
occur to me
Christmas.
until just now that like we're gonna have to deal with like fucking like a week of insufferable like first year anniversary of January 6th shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Fuck.
Yeah. That was the whole point of doing it now. was that it'll be a year in
no, I mean
that's why Carlson put out the movie.
To me, like I guess maybe I couldn't even fucking like cognitively handle it how much fucking like CNN anchors on Twitter.
There'll be like a CNN special probably like about
but it'll go back and forth, and then the right will cite all the shit that's cited in Patriot Purge and be like, this is what really happened.
Right.
And there'll probably be some, however small, demonstration.
Fucking like Jake Tapper or somebody or Don Lemon is gonna like do the fucking Ari Fleischer thing of like minute by minute like tweeting the January 6th as it happened.
Yeah.
Fuck. God damn it. I guess we have this. We have this.
I'll click like on each one of those posts.
Yeah. Who am I kidding?
Each and every one.
Them, yeah.
All right. Well,
are we done here?
Have a good New Year.
All right, folks. Merry Christmas.
Good night. Yes.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Jesus Christ. I came from the dirt and he made me bye.
Bye.
I heard some
Merry
so much
Christmas.
they sent to me. Sound the alarm, so they say it's a purge. 1776 will emerge. The day was the 6th and the month was the 1st. 2020 plus 1, it was birth.
They tryna purge, MAGA forever, don't care what you heard. They mad because I don't follow the herd. They been my son because I preach the word. Ride with the real me and fake ones can't merge. They ban us from Twitter, ban us from the gram, ban us from flights. It's part of the plan. Some people gon' sit, but I'm gon' stay. Can't go out like a punk, I go out like a man.
MAGA forever, no matter the weather. We weather the storm, we need to reform. 230 and make it gone. Big tech be breaking the laws, I hate them all. MAGA forever, it's more than a man. This is a movement, it's biblical fan. While the boomers be trusted a plan, we introducing a flame to the fan. Ay, I was scrolling on Twitter when they banned Donald Trump for speaking the truth. Ay, and if they'll ban a president, next thing you know they coming for you. Ay, they'll take your social media business.